Honey, you could tell Blueface really in jail because when I tell you Krishan Sr. was going to get all the love, let me tell you something. Zoe was going to let y'all know I am not Steven Urkel. I am Stefan Urkel. And I'm going to let y'all know this. Y'all, let's talk about this latest episode of Ready to Love Dallas Fort Worth. Okay, y'all. So episode 8 starts off in the ladies' lounge, and the ladies are excited to, just be one of the last five, hun. I'm gonna call them the fabulous five because, like I said, every single time the Dallas Fort Worth ladies are giving it. Every single time they look fantastic. They walk in. There's a sense of ease. You can tell that they're happy that Ding Dong, the witch is dead, honey. Alexis is gone, and the energy just feels safe and supportive. You see the positivity in the room, and it is a glad thing to see, honey. Everybody's dressed in their beautiful colors, and in Tommy walks like, how I look, how I look. Everybody look good, but how I look. Tommy, you have on a regular shirt. Have a seat, sir. So anyway, the ladies are chit-chatting with each other, and they start talking to Tommy. He asked them how they felt about the last episode because they got to meet the friends of the other parties, and now it is time, at least in Tommy's eyes, that the women give insight to their life. So they met the men's friends or close loved ones, and now it is time for the women to give insight into their lives. And Tommy also wants the women to give spend a little time doing I'm sorry, to spend a little time doing compare and contrast when it comes to the guys that they're interested with that are left and the guys who they used to be with. I thought this was kind of a good approach. And I do think that this was the best way I've ever seen it explained on Ready to Love. So he says that, he wants them to invite an ex on a date to look at these dudes and see, what they think of them, but also for the women to really pay attention to the person that they used to be with and maybe they even were with that person and who these new guys will be. The ladies are kind of reluctant to do it. Patrice says, look, honey, I got an ex, but he kind of crazy. So I don't know what the situation going to be. And Maya like, look, I ain't friends with none of my exes. I totally understand what she's saying. Like, she's like, look, they on block. So I'll have to figure out who I have to unblock. Like, child, I'm not friends with my exes. Like, once we done, we done. I hear that. So Tommy says this is a great way for them to determine what they're doing. Everything we do in this process, he does that is for a reason. But I do think it's a good idea for them to have that compare and contrast to see like, hey, what I used to want or what I used to do versus what I'm doing now. Am I making the same exact mistake? Am I just dating the old dude? So, we'll see how these days go. Okay, so first off is our girl Patrice, and she is there with her ex, Dro. Dro look like he on one, honey. And as soon as he sit down and he's like, oh, I know you wanted to meet up. Dro, why you think he was here, honey? Because he's like, oh, well, I'm not really sure why I'm here. She's like, I want you to meet two guys that I'm currently dating. He's like, you want me to meet some man and judge some men? It's like, calm down, sir. Why did you get up this early in the morning and try to press that shirt if you hadn't planned on being here for some type of formal get together? You knew it wasn't just you and her and that jacket with the lips. Anyway, Patrice is meeting up with her ex Dro because she wants him to meet Alonzo and Will. And they're basically going to sit down and have this conversation about, what he would think of them. But Dro takes it in a different direction. So Alonzo shows up first, Steve Urkel and all his energy, honey, with them locks and that bang in a little top ponytail. And then Will shows up shortly after. And when they sit down and have a seat, Joe introduces himself. He basically breaks down, hey, look, let's get to the nitty gritty. Me and Patrice used to date. It wasn't for that long. And, we stopped dating because we realized we're better as friends. And, I was also out there in them streets laying it long and wide everywhere. And I'm glad that we became friends because we have a great friendship. And also I met my wife as a result of moving on from the relationship. So he says he never thought he would get married because, of his, I guess, prior hoish activities. And he realizes now that he has a great friend in Patrice. So he gets down straight to the nitty gritty. He does not want to ask the questions that are the cake, like, oh, why do you like her? What do you love about her? And I think this was the moment I kind of enjoyed that he was the person she bought, because I do get tired of seeing the question about like, oh, what do you like? We know that they're going to give tons of positive platitudes about that person and talk about how they enjoy their company and she's so sweet and she's so nice. Joe's like, look, what don't you like about her? Let's get to the things that aren't the most pleasant or things that you have questions about. And so specifically, Alonzo is thrown by the question. He don't really know what's going on. He always gets high school energy and bumbling. And so Alonzo says that what he doesn't necessarily care for about Patrice, it was a very much an interview question. You know, they tell you like, what's one thing you don't like about yourself, but you know you can't say something negative about yourself because you might not get the job. So you got to say something that's really a negative positive. He gives that answer. And his answer is that he feels like she likes to throw curveballs. And specifically, I think he means with questions. And he says that sometimes it could throw you off. And ultimately, you know, but every time that if you choose to answer it and kind of fall into the trap, it gives her insight either way. If you don't answer it or you do answer it, she kind of gets some type of understanding about you. And he said that he's cool with that because he also does it. Sorry, it was an interview question, but cool. Patrice says what she does not care for with Zoe is the young energy. She enjoys him being goofy and fun, but she doesn't know where his serious side comes in sometimes, and that bothers her a bit because she is a woman of a certain age and maturity level, and she enjoys the fun and energy. She enjoys a good time with him, but she wants to know that he also has a serious side to him because she's grown, and you know she wants to make sure that that's something that they can figure out. You know, Alonzo says in the back end that he didn't really know she felt that way, and he certainly wants to make her comfortable and let her know, like, hey, yes, I do enjoy having a good time and I am fun, but I do have a super serious side to me, and I know I need to show that more. Fast forward over to your man Will, who really don't want to be there with everybody. Will has already said that he don't like the fact that he constantly got to share Patrice in these get-togethers, honey. Like he done been on several group dates with her. You know, they have very little one-on-one time, and specifically now they back on this situation. But Will is giving grown man energy. And so Joe turns to him and he asks Will how he feels. Will says that he um doesn't feel that Patrice tans. So Dro is not feeling that answer. He's like, well, wait a minute. What you mean? You have a problem with how she do her body? Sir, pipe down. He was just giving his answer. But I think Dro was like about to go in, like, you know, how dare you tell a woman what to do with her body? And I understand where he was coming from. And we could use that defense when it makes sense. But he said, let me explain. He said, you know, I grew up in foster care. Honey, everything will be about foster care. Work on your issues. Although I think he has, and he was just being grown in his response. He basically just said that he grew up in a situation where, you know, he felt not good enough at times, and he understands how that can manifest. And ultimately, he did not want her to have that insecurity. And so that's why what happened to my voice right now? I just went from Tammy to Roger, honey. What happened? I hate that when you got like a little cough. Let me focus. Anyway, he hates that she would feel some sort of way about herself because she's beautiful. And she says, you know, no, it's not that. You know, she just likes to adorn her body, and she does feel like she's a little bit fair skinned, honey. They in the South. So, you know, a little tan doesn't hurt. I hate that she doing tanning beds too because they're horrible for your skin. Ultimately, as a black person, y'all living in Texas, y'all just can't be out in the sun with some sunscreen and just get a little glow on, some Maui, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, but that was his reasoning, and Dro understands that he sort of backs off and barks down. Patricia basically says that, you know, I guess her thing with Will, it's just like the seriousness or something like that. I forgot what it was. It wasn't really that important. Fast forward, they end up ending the date. She talks to Joe. Joe says that he likes Alonzo. He has a lot of potential. He sees the positivity in it. But if you want his real opinion, Will is grown and he feels grown. And you know another grown man when you're talking to another grown man. And so Patrice has a lot to think about. Let's move on to the next date. Okay, so we back at it, y'all. And now we're on to the next set of dates. But pump your brakes first because Mika wants to sit down with Tommy to get some advice. So she meets up with Tommy because she's having this issue around her exes and even being able to invite them. She has a little chit chat with Tommy. She lets him know, like, look, I really don't have no exes to call. I only have two men prior to now. One was like at least a serious ex, rather. One was a guy she was dating before, you know, she got on the show. And then another one is her children's father, of which Tommy keeps saying baby daddies. And I'm like, damn, Tommy, do you know if she got baby daddies? Maybe she just got the one father. And she seems to be implying that it's only one guy that's the actual father of both children. So I was like, Tommy's trying to throw her under the bus. What's going on there? Anyway, Mika says that she doesn't really mess with her exes. The first guy, the last guy, they don't talk anymore. Like they broke up. It's not a good breakup. She doesn't want that type of toxicity in her life. And essentially, like, why would I call this man and then come on a TV show with me? The second guy is her child's father, but they don't have the kind of relationship that he would come do things like this for her. I'm assuming that she said that they co-parent decently, but enough. But his thing's like, if it ain't got to do with my kid, I'm not trying to be involved. Like, everybody want to be on TV. This is my whole thing with the whole inviting your exes thing. I think sometimes it can be a good concept, but they really just need to let you invite whoever you feel comfortable with, and they can introduce the concept of your ex, but not make it so that you can't if you don't have that person. So Tommy tries to do the little big brother thing and says, hey, what if I step in placement of your ex and I help you to make the decision about who you would like to be with? So it looks like that's the way that they're going to go. On Mika's date, she ain't got nobody coming. It's going to be her mixes or her matches and Tommy. Fast forward, we move on to Miss Vanessa Honey, our flight attendant in tow, who has Mr. Chaz and Mr. Dominique feeling her the most. And they are meeting up with her date. And then we also have a mix of a date with Maya and her two matches and her ex. So you know how we do this. We're going to go left to right. I'm not going to be jumping back and forth between the scenes. We're just going to talk about each one. So first up is Vanessa. And Vanessa is actually on a date with her ex that she got hooked up with from the lady from her job. So she worked with someone, I'm assuming at the airlines, that was a mom, and she had a older son who was single. The whole, oh, you should meet my son. And so she did, and so they dated, and so they are now not together. She said that they really didn't date that long. They kind of hooked up, dated for a little bit, and realized they just wasn't for them. So, Chaz comes in, Dominique comes in, they sit down and kind of know the dynamic. But Dominique is a little taken aback by that. And I think his issue, again, is around the whole female-male dynamic. And I think a lot of people need to grow up around this energy where you can realize that people can be platonically friends and have nothing going on. But so many men and women, not just men, deal with this, have not experienced non-romantic love or non-romantic friendship. And in this case, they don't even have that type of friendship. She says that they're cool, but he's an ex, but they're not even besties. They don't go out on the weekends and hang out and talk all the time about her personal life. He's just a guy she knew she could call. He would be willing to do the show. And she dated him. So, and you can tell by his advice at the end that pretty much is what their dynamic is. But Dominique is a little bit thrown, and he says, I had a similar situation. I dated somebody whose mom, hooked me up as well from work. And, we got intimate. And I think it could change the dynamic of the friendship. And he says, so how do you handle that? Now, what I will say for Dominique is even in him not experiencing, I guess, what would be a platonic relationship with somebody that he maybe once had a situation with, the way he handled addressing the question was mature as hell. And that's, again, why we like the guys that are in this current mix, the men who have been able to make it past that. Because these men, you can tell, have had some sense of understanding of who they are and are learning how to articulate certain things. He didn't go off and go, well, what's y'all dynamic? Why y'all together? Y'all sleeping together? He just asked a grown man question to say, hey, how do you deal with that? Because I haven't really experienced that. They answered it very maturely. The guy says, hey, we're both emotionally intelligent. We know that we were not for each other, but that doesn't mean we can't root for each other and want real love. They didn't go on to talk with him and Chaz. They have discussion about where they want to be and how they're taking this marriage thing serious. Chaz goes on to say he has prepared his life for his wife, honey. He is waiting. He has done all of the work and the things that he needs to do. Him and Vanessa not only connect on a romantic and a physical level, but on a spiritual level as well. And they have good vibes. Dominique says he is also prepared for that. He says he wants to be a father. That led a little bit more than his connection with Vanessa. And again, hones into the fact that Vanessa already has 2 kids. I feel like Dominique does like her, but his drive to be a father, even with the other women that he has a connection with, is a bit too strong. And it feels like he's more here for procreation than he is for romantic love completely. And that gets a little bit scary. But he does say that, he has a good connection with her. They're building stuff. He is pursuing her. It is what it is. After the date is over, after both men leave, Vanessa talks to the guy that's sitting down with her and basically asks him, what does he think? Again, because they don't really have a relationship, you could just tell he was kind of going off of her vibe. So he says, I know you're building more with Chaz. And, he seems to be building a lot with you and preparing himself for a wife. I think he's good. I think Dominique is also a cool guy, but I feel like you have less of a connection with him and you have a strong connection with Chaz. Sir, you offered nothing. Let's move on. When I tell you Maya must have ran this man's pockets, oh my gosh, the level of non-eye contact he would have when he was saying certain things regarding their relationship and her tendencies, and then specifically how he was talking to the guys, that their breakup or them not being together anymore, there was some things that happened in that relationship, especially around finances, honey. So fast forward, we moved on from Vanessa, and now Maya is at a date, and she's with her 2 strongest connections. One who is William 2.0, who has been jumping, between her and Patrice, I think, at this point. And she's also meeting up with Justin, the teacher, and they're sitting down. Now, again, I didn't know how Justin made it to this round as well, because I did get a vibe from Maya. Maya gives me early Portia vibes, but I feel like Maya, it was very clear about wanting a provider, and nothing to me suggested that she wanted somebody who would be staying like at a very similar salary, or maybe have a finicky salary, because depending on what you do and how you hustle throughout the year as a teacher, you may or may not make that much money over the course of your career if you don't move on to other educational promotional things, like maybe vice principal or superintendent. If you don't further your education or move up in some other way, a lot of times you may not stay at a super high salary, or if you don't do something amazing in the summer or take on other additional roles. So, and I think he teaches PE, child. So he's not even like he's a math teacher, nothing like that. So I don't know where that dynamic was going, except for the fact that he was attracted and she was attracted to him. I also feel like it's weird that Will is her other strong connection, because again, when it comes to finances, I don't see it, because Will is a comic. Yes, he's a military vet. He might get disability. I don't know. But he's also a reservist, and they don't make so much money because they only do 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. And I just don't see the dynamic of them being something that she would be able to deal with long term, because comic money is going to be limited because he's not made it yet. He's not a comedic writer solo. He's not a well-known name. We found about him on this show. So I just don't see where their dynamic was going to work. So I really don't understand past the physicality where this whole thing was going to go. She really had a stronger connection in LaRon in terms of his income. But let's move on. So Maya meets up with him and her ex. Her ex and her kind of already look like it's gonna be some BS. He seems really cool, but he basically starts talking to the different men about what they like about her and their connection and where they see themselves with as a family. And then Justin's like, give me the lowdown. So he starts having a conversation with him, and he said, "You got enough money?" And there we have it. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Maya has definitely, they've had a little bit of a history when it comes to the finances. And I feel like he said, you're going to spoil her. That's not a problem. Like, he doesn't mind doing the financial things, but it's clear that money had to have come up in their situation. Either he felt like he was putting out too much and maybe not getting enough back, or he was trying to placate her in some way to keep her, even though he didn't have it. I think more so it's the first one, because I don't think that he's broke. I think it was more so that that was her focus, and that was clear. And so Justin's like, hey, this is about money. I'm out of here anyway, because I'm a teacher. I ain't blowing up like that. I ain't got no large size bank account. And, I don't know if this is it. And he says, well, we don't get to see it, but he does make some comments and alludes to the fact that basically throughout the conversation, the ex keeps throwing in little jabs to let you know, like, hey, if you ain't got the finances, there ain't no romance. And Justin says that he starts to see a little bit of a different side of her that he's a little worried about, because how financially focused are you? Are you only here to just meet a man with money? Are you here to meet somebody who is going to be a great partner and you want them to do well? Or is it that you're just here to just meet, that you're with, like, what's your motivation? So he's a little worried about that. Will is a little bit less worried, but again, his confidence to me in this area does need clarity, because what is it that you do besides those two things, sir? And then he has multiple kids. So that's what I'm trying to understand. He's like, I got other things. Brian, what are those things? Please bring it up so we can see. You have multiple businesses. And the reason I'm saying that is, again, the finances that he's saying that he would have, even if he's getting a disability check, even if he's still a reservist, that may not be enough for Maya when you factor in that he has multiple children. Okay. And comic money ain't paying like that. So you're not Cat Williams. So we need to find out what's going on. So anyway, the ex basically loses the fact that, look, Maya's a little bit about money, so be ready for that. Be ready for spending. She lets him know, like, hey, I have my own money, but girl, you've made it very clear that you're looking for a provider, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're not shaming her, but we're just saying that these two men may not fit the financial profile. But they still continue to talk. The date ends, and of course, he asks her, what is she thinking? He says, Justin walks off a little bit apprehensive and says, well, I don't know if I'm gonna fit her financial profile. I might be already out the picture. So she says that when it came to the financial part, Justin seemed a bit worried, and that did bother her a bit. And she said that Will felt more confident and he seemed unshaken. But unshaken doesn't mean that he meets the criteria. Might need to talk to these men more. As we move on down the line, and I don't mean the Soul Train line, even though Rashina's ex is dressed like a Soul Train extra. Honey, what was going on with that, the sparkle shirt? But you know what that made me think of? And I know she was throwing jabs at him. They was absolutely that couple for them 10 years they was married. Everything about them gives Maxwell concert, summer evening, matching outfits because of the style and ways that she dressed and how he dressed. They absolutely were that matching couple that you saw at tons of events in the movies. The kids probably had the same outfits on. I just know it. That was their vibe. Anyway, her ex comes up with his gold teeth and that sparkle shirt, honey. And they have a little chit chat about their co-parenting situation. They were married for a decade. It did not work out. They co-parent very well together. He is there to meet Chaz. And so to give his insight, because he knows Rashina a lot better than most of the men that she's, have been in her life. She hasn't had that many, and he was there for a decade. He also knows what she's like as a wife and a parent and the things that she probably has told him she's looking for. So she doesn't know how this is going to go, but she hopes that it goes well. And at best, that he didn't show up with that Sparkle shirt on for nothing. So Chaz walks in, and they're definitely opposites, not necessarily polar opposites, but they're definitely opposites in terms of dress. Chaz is dressed like he's coming to a country club. They both got tattoos though, and her baby daddy / ex-husband has the all-seeing eye pyramid on his neck. So there's that. But Rashida got his tattoo on her arm. So that was her vibe too. And of course Chaz has tattoos, so everybody got some honey. So they sit down and have a chit chat, and they could definitely see their night and day. But they have a grown man chit chat, and Chaz finds out about their past history and sort of why they ended. And then they talk about what Chaz's intentions are with her. He says that he digs Rashina a lot. She's grown. They have a really good vibe together. The father, asked Chaz about, how he feels about kids and him saying that he wants children. They talk about his intentions and what Rashina likes about him and that they have a good connection. Rashina says that her and her child's father, her ex-husband, I won't say child's father, her ex-husband, that they have really good communication. And that's something that's key to them being very good co-parents. And she said that she enjoys her communication with Chaz, but it's not as strong as she would like. Sometimes she got to check in to see where he is. And that's a red flag for him in terms of his own behavior. And he realizes that he needs to put more pressure on and be more consistent with his communication. And to be honest with y'all, and y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comments, but did you even feel like they had a vibe? Nothing about her and Chaz felt authentically together. I didn't even know he was a fix for her. Past the fact that he is adult and grown and we like him in that capacity, I don't feel the chemistry. I don't see the connection. They don't seem like they are a connection to me in any capacity other than the fact that he's another option for Rashina past Justin. I actually feel like she had more chemistry with Justin. I'm not really sure why her ex didn't meet Justin, because that's where I feel like her connection really relied. I feel like they had more of a physical connection, and they genuinely enjoyed themselves more. I also, while I really like Rashina and she's one of my favorite on this show, I feel like she can be a bit stiff, and we don't always get that energy. And I feel like when we got that girly energy, that fun energy, that more she gives feminine energy, but that more comfortable energy, it was with Justin. So I'm not really sure why Chaz is on this date. He's there. The rest of the conversation is kind of boring. That food is mid at best in terms of the visual of it. It gave homemade and not necessarily in a good way. When he exits, she asks the husband how he feels. He tells her he likes him. He likes that he's a little bit more square than he is, I guess, visually or personality-wise, and he knows that would be a good person to have around his kids. He see him as a possible good, father figure type in the life of the children when he's not present, and that makes him feel comfortable. He likes him for Rashina, and that's where it is. Now, let's be honest. This date with Mika, LaRon, and Justin was definitely a setup of many. Obviously, we know that Tommy is stepping in as the ex. He had that earlier conversation with Mika's exes is not going to come. And she's sitting down with LaRon and Justin, and they're having this group date. I definitely did not feel like LaRon was here because he was a connection for her. At this point, to be honest, and we don't know because this is like, episode 8 that we're on right now. I don't think that LaRon and her are going to be a love match, and we're never going to be a love match. And they kind of find out at the end of the day. I think LaRon is just here for support. Because honestly, low key, I feel like LaRon is already dating Koshia. Maybe there's something with him and Maya, but I doubt it. And I really feel like him and Koshia have already decided to just be a mix. But he's on here to support Maya. And of course, he was on here to get rid of Alexis. So proud of that moment, by the way. Anyway, him and Justin sit down with Tommy. They realize that Tommy's going to be the person asking them questions. And Tommy wants to know, like, hey, what is your intentions with the date situation after Mika explains why her ex is not there? He asked them why did they end with their exes. They go on to say, Justin just said it kind of got bad. We were in different places and we started to argue all the time. It wasn't good. LaRon echoes a very similar situation. So there's no new information there. They sort of asked Mika, like, what was her situation with like her exes. And, she talks about the fact that one of her exes just wasn't, they weren't on the same page about a lot of different things. He was a gamer. He focused a lot on that. And LaRon is a little bit shocked because he said he also is a gamer, but he also says that he creates games. So I'm not sure if he works like a gaming company. And that's why he was a little reluctant when she said that, he used to play games for hours and stuff. And he's like, that's what, I think he was alluding to the fact that that's what he might do for a living. Like maybe he's an account manager with them or whatever. And then you have to do that for your job. Would that be an issue? And then like you may also do it for enjoyment. So I'm not really sure where that came in at, and I think that was a little bit of a red flag for him. But like I said, I don't think that he's really there for her. I really feel like when it comes to the gaming situation, I don't have a problem with an adult that games as long as you know when to shut it off, you know when to step away from it. People use different things for outlets. Gamers are usually very chill, relaxed in their little room. If they got a gaming room or their office or whatever, they kind of do their thing and they leave. I know I game a little bit too, so I just feel like as long as you don't make it your life, as long as you know how to get up from the situation, I'm boring with my games. Like I'm not like I don't do like shoot 'em up games, nothing like that. But I do feel like as long as you know when to get up from the situation, it doesn't consume your life. You know when to put the controller down or your phone down or whatever and just like move on with your day. I think you should be fine in that situation. So it's about balance with those things, even as an adult, because whatever your outlet is or outlets are, you still have to have balance in your relationship. They asked Justin about how he feels about the fact that it's the whole kid situation. LaRon and them are perfectly fine with that. But they do wonder because as Mika is explaining the issues with her ex, she also talks about how like even in dating relationships, it has come up that sometimes she can be so consumed with the children, she then kind of forgets about the relationship or the guy, or she just doesn't pay as much attention. And Justin says that could be an issue for him because while he understands having space and he understands needing to have his own space, he also wants to feel love. He also wants to feel like the person is reaching out to him and that they're loving on him. And that could become a problem. And I don't think he was saying it in a way of like not understanding she has kids and that they have to be the priority, but that do you become so over-consumed with that part of your life you don't balance out your relationship because that won't take care of itself on its own. So I understood where he was coming from as well. They also talk about whether or not um there's some like underlying things with how they deal with conflict because she also talked about the fact, I guess, that she dealt with like the ex would deal with conflict and kind of shut down. How does that work? And that's something that Tommy brought up. So if Tommy brings up a scenario like, hey, if y'all had a fight the night before, how do you deal with it? Now, what I was shocked that both of them said is that they didn't try to resolve it then and there. Because, I don't believe in going to bed angry, honey. I've always instilled you and still do with my man. Now, if we have something going on, we're going to resolve it that evening. We're not going to bed sleepy because that'll mess with you in your entire sleep the whole time. So LaRon answers first, and he says that he'll probably wait for things to cool down. He'll probably send a text in the morning and just check the temperature to see where she is before he kind of goes in. And then Justin says, like, I want to resolve it right away. In the morning, we got to get through the situation because I don't want that messing with my whole day. I kind of feel like they were sort of saying the same thing, but I think LaRon was saying he wanted to approach with more caution. Justin being more, forceful to like resolve the issue seemed to be the thing that Mika liked more. And she said that she appreciated that he wanted to resolve it right away and work through it because it can mess with your whole day. And she liked his answer. Ultimately, we kind of learned nothing new because, again, I don't think LaRon is here for that. Tommy walks away, says he thinks he got the answers he wanted. She asked him how they feel about Tommy being there and how they feel about the situation. They say things were cool. LaRon said, you stood my peoples. And that further confirms that I don't think that he was there just as an extra for her and not really for a romantic connection. She says she doesn't see one with them, but she does see more of a connection with Justin. And I think Justin's on the fence. Okay, so it looks like our boy Zoe listened to Patrice when she said she needs to see some of his serious side, honey. She didn't already seen the softer side. She didn't seen the funny side, but she doesn't know if he's a guy that can act real grown. And we know that her ex Dro really reiterated the fact that yes, he seems like a cool dude, but he also seems goofy as hell. So Zoe decided that he is going to take what she said into account and show her that he can be a serious man. So he, aka Ready to Love, shuts down a museum in town to show her how much he appreciates her and also that he can do the damn thing. So, Ready to Love and all its awesomeness, make sure they shoot all the marketing shots that they can shut down this museum and not have to pay for it. And Patrice walks up in theme, honey. When I tell you I loved her dress, it was a very cute idea. Very cute cubism kind of vibe, showing this art print on the front of her dress in the back. That was very in theme for the fact that they're walking into a museum. Okay, Krishan Sr., we see you. So Krishan and Steve Urkel walk into the museum hand in hand. He has long stem roses. It was a very, very sweet gesture. We do know that about Zoe. When he's not being creepy with questions, he actually can have a softer side. They sit down, they eat. He has dinner waiting for them in the museum. They also walk around the museum and just sort of talk and joke about different things. And it's the fun, playful energy that she enjoys from him. So that part we're not surprised with. He lets her know that the reason that he's doing this is he did hear her out and really does want her to understand that he is serious about their dynamic. Patrice adores the situation, and that's all we really care about. Sis is happy. Now, I have to say, for me, again, I just don't see the dynamic with them for some reason. It's not that I don't think he's a cool dude. It's not that I don't think that she's a great woman who deserves love. It just gives me mother son. And it's not that Patrice is older, because sis does not look older than him. They don't look that far apart to me. It's just that something about their vibe just gives sugar baby energy. It just gives mother son proud of you, not steamy romantic oomph. It felt like even in this moment, it was almost like proving to my mom I'm serious about a subject she keeps saying I keep playing around with. It gave Mother's Day. It didn't give romance. Y'all let me know what y'all think about it in the comments. Let's move on. Okay, so we're back at the ladies' lounge, honey. It is time for it to go down. We have spent this last episode going about these exes and getting all of the needed information to decide if we are really jumping back into the same rabbit hole, into the same drama-filled situations that we were in before. The ladies in DFW come in looking fantastic, and I'm going to keep saying this every episode. They really are the standard going forward. This is how we always need our ladies to look. Polished, put together. You're coming in the lounge. You're going to be on camera. That hair done, them outfits looking fantastic and looking dressed for the occasion. The DFW ladies have really reset the bar in terms of the quality going forward. And this is what we always need to see. Anyway, everybody comes in looking fabulous per usual. And Tommy has a seat and he wants to get down to the nitty gritty. What was great about these dates? And who are you feeling? And then who are you not feeling? So first off, he kind of goes around the room, talks to every individual person. He talks with Patrice. And Patrice, of course, tells us about her date with her ex. And she says that her date or her ex was rather a little bit embarrassing when it came to the men. And I didn't think that was that serious. I actually love the questions that he asked because, like I stated before in my previous commentary, he really asked the things we needed to know and not just asked for platitudes. So I really appreciate the fact that he basically asked like, hey, don't you like, so we could get down to the things that maybe aren't that great about the situation and see if you're still the right person. So basically, Patrice says that after their conversation, he essentially said he liked Will more because Will was more grown. But Zoe took notes, honey. He was going to let you know that y'all not about to play him like he not Stefan or Kel sometimes. And he decided to shut it down for her at the museum. And she said it was an extremely beautiful date. The other ladies are listening and they loved what they're hearing. And can I just go back to that for a minute? Did y'all notice the energy in the room from these women? When I tell you the ease, the breeze in which they flowed and discussed things with each other, in which they interacted and enjoyed each other was really breathtaking. And to see, especially on the Ready to Love stage, honey, because going towards the end, it'd be cutthroat as hell usually. And it was really nice to see that they genuinely liked each other. I even love, I believe it was Maya's comment where she stated that it's going to be hard for her to eliminate any of the guys because they've really grown to like each other in the group and they want everybody to find love basically and be successful in their pursuit. So she really enjoys the women that are there. And you could easily see it. They move on to Maya. She says that her ex, was a little more concerned about Justin because of the fact that he wasn't feeling some of the financial parts of the conversation and that really threw them for a loop. They then go on to Rashina. She only had her ex meet Chaz, and he thought she was a good, that Chaz was a good catch for her because he seemed to be ready for kids and all that kind of stuff. And they co-parent very well together. Kind of the same thing around the room. LaRon wasn't it for Mika because obviously they seem more homeboy, homegirlish. She wasn't feeling the gamer vibes. I think she's going a little too far in the thought process behind that. But I do think that ultimately he was only there as a homeboy anyway. And they ask finally Vanessa about her date with Dom as well as Chaz. And it's clear that Dom is mostly looking to procreate and not necessarily just to create a relationship. Whereas Chaz seems more ready to have a lady in his life, and that's what her ex told her over, even though he felt like a coworker she got from the job. I don't know, child. Fast forward, they basically start asking who they don't like. And that's when we get down to realize that basically every woman in there has had a really unsettling, and not in a negative way, but just an unsettling feeling about Dominique. They feel like although his intention that he's made known that one, he wants to create a migrant path of children all across the United States of America and create a rainbow coalition of a family in terms of the amount of children he wants to have, honey. He's trying to have a full population within the next 3 years of a small town. He has not really put in the energy behind he has not put the energy behind to show that he is interested in these women. They often feel like they have to reach out to him. He is acting like I'm the prize over the women. It's starting to get a bit weird. And although some of them really like him, his attitude, and I also enjoy him as one of the more mature men in the bunch to a certain degree, not pursuing women that you said that you're interested in is going to always be a turnoff to any woman. And so a lot of women say that even though he talks a good game, he doesn't put in the work. Their other issue or concerned person really is Zoe. Vanessa basically states like, look, he doesn't really have a connection with me as much as he has with CHRISEAN Sr., and he's supposed to be here for all the women. The other women already don't have a connection with Zoe. But she says that he doesn't put the energy in, even though he'll say the words about what he's feeling, and then he's doing the opposite with Patrice. So he's not a connection for her. And at that point, he's one of the only people, Patrice is the only person that's feeling him, and that's not going to work when you're still this deep in the game, even though we're like on episode 8. So Tommy, of course, says, hey, take these 2 guys out, whoever y'all decide to pick, let them know where they stand, and let's move on to the next situation, because I'm trying to take y'all to vacation. Now, we know Ready to Love vacation when you're just going to go to a Airbnb, honey, because Ready to Love don't do no type of good vacation trips. They need to work on that. They've now been on for so many seasons. They should have a better budget. Fast forward, they end up going out on dates with both Zoe and Dominique. Now, Zoe goes out with Vanessa specifically, so I guess it wouldn't be questionable as to why he's there. And they have Dominique go out with Maya. The Dominique Maya date was hilarious. The Zoe Vanessa date was basically like, hey, you need to show more attention. You're not necessarily showing the actions behind your words. You say you like me, and you're only showing that attention to Patrice. And that is all well and good. But if I'm not your cup of tea, or any of the other ladies aren't, then let us know, because then it's kind of time wasted. So he says he's going to step it up, and then we move on to the next date. Maya sits down with Dominique, honey. And when I tell you, Maya's approach to this was so classy. He wasn't like angry, but there was definitely a lot of undercurrent of a little bit of a sass that came back in the energy. And I wasn't expecting that from Dominique. You know, Maya says that they've all reached out a bunch of times, and he hasn't really responded back in the same exact way. They're always the ones having to reach out. And he's like, well, I think I've done more than y'all. And she's like, really? And he's like, yes. And I was like, this is going to go really good or really bad. It stayed at a class level, because I didn't think he was going to take it to any place super negative. But essentially, I think he's a bit tone deaf. He says that he thinks that his person is out there and it's just not here. He thought he was putting in the work that he needs to. I feel like if enough women are telling you out of a group of 5 that, hey, you're not exactly showcasing what you say you want, and you're not being as pursuant, then perhaps there was some feedback that was useful. But Dominique seems to not think so. He's more so like, hey, his just person is not there, but he's going to find his person. He will find somebody to procreate with, but whether or not you're going to build a life with that person in a responsible fashion is the question. And for that, I think he needed to take the feedback that the ladies gave. Ultimately, they decided that Dominique was not ready to love. Farewell, Short King. And we are now down to, I guess, maybe 4 men. And I guess one of the women will be eliminated on the next episode. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about this episode in the comments. I'm interested to see what's going to happen on vacation, because that's usually when all the drama hits amongst the ladies and different things like that. And it looks like they're trying to turn Vanessa into Janelle/Camille 2.0 or 3.0 at this point. New and improved. She seemed a little less thirsty. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.